Hello again. Today we'll be going over Is It the Worth the Grind guide, and today we'll be going over the US ships worth grinding. And this is the part 1 of this series because there's so many US tech trees that this is going to be a very long video, so we decided to split into 2 parts. I will be having the lines put in the description of the video for you guys to look at ones we're going today. But in this part 1, we'll be looking at the submarine line, the 2 destroyer lines, and the 2 cruisers line. While the part 2 will be focusing the battleship lines and the 2 CV lines. So if you guys are interested in those, that'll be in part 2. And part 1 is going to be on what we just talked about, or what I just mentioned there. So let's hop right into it. So the first line we'll be going over is going to be the glorious submarine line, the Balao line. So, do I recommend the Balao line? No. I definitely recommend playing the German subs or just buying the U4501. The Balao line itself isn't a bad line. It's not bad overall, but the German line is just better. So, German line's better, and the U45 is just an extremely broken submarine you can get for coal. Absurdly strong. So, overall, I would just say get the German subs or the U4501. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. What are your thoughts, SAT score, on the Balao line itself?
I mean, as you said, not really a bad line, but I would just grind German subs first. Generally speaking, it's not really worth the grind subs unless you really like their gameplay. Just because you'll literally become public enemy number 1 or 2 once you pick up a sub.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So moving on from the Balao, let's move on to talk about the gearing line. Much more interesting. So the gearing line, as you can see here, starts at the Fargate here and goes down to the gearing and the Humphrey. So do I recommend the gearing line? Yes, I highly recommend the gearing line. It is a very good teaching DD line, which is very good for learning how to aim with the floaty shells. It's a good jack of all trade line where it's not really excellent at anything. It's more of good at everything that it does. It has good smoke, it has good maneuverability, it has an engine boost. It's a good support destroyer with that smoke. Torps are also really nice as well, going to 16.5 kilometers. Guns are okay, but just overall, a really good teaching line throughout all the tech trees. The Mine, Benson, Fletcher, Gearing, all of them are just overall great. What are your thoughts on the gearing line itself? I think it's absolutely amazing. Great concealment, good guns, good torps, just good anti-air. Just overall, is just a good line. I think the worst thing is that it doesn't have a heal. It's like the only thing to complain about.
Yeah, but that's kind of because it's an older line, back when destroyers did not have, no destroyers at all had heals. It's only now, it's only more, well, it wasn't until like Daring that even like they put like a small heal on them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so the gearing line is an interesting jack of all trades. So down in the mid tiers, it actually is more gunboaty. Like these, it will show you how to short range gunboat very effectively. You can just murder other destroyers if you can ambush them, and if a cruiser or battleship gets too close, you just put your smoke in and start farming. The higher tiers though, that's when everyone gets a lot faster and it's harder to hit those shells. And their DPM kind of falls off. So instead they transition to more well-rounded destroyers.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally when you get to Gearing, she's more of a torque boat, honestly. But can still fight other destroyers at close range in the right situations. But the big thing about all of the destroyers is that they have US smoke. And this smoke is one of the best because it lasts for such a long time. So if you are playing a division and you have a light cruiser buddy, literally just go give him smoke while you throw out torpedoes. He will love you for the free protection he gets, while you get combat scout for all the damage he's doing. So they're a bit on the harder side. Like you have to put more effort into learning them compared to say the Shimakaze line. The shells especially are among the slowest in the game. So, like, yeah, it's gonna suck trying to learn how to use it, but if you can master the US destroyer guns, you can master just about anything at that
Hmm.
point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that gun speed is very slow. Yeah, 792 meters per second. Yeah, whew. Those are lofty shells.
They
Mm.
aren't as forgiving as the daring if you're trying to learn destroyers, but at the same time it also means like you don't have training wheels that you're going to get accustomed to,
Hmm.
that you might like get too accustomed to if you're playing the daring line. So if you're like if like it's a good line to play if you want to learn how to play destroyers, and it's also still a really good line and when you come back to it if you're playing in the division. And as a side note, you actually have the strongest depth charges in the game. So when you get to the high tiers, you deal 5,000 damage per depth charge. So if there's a sub even remotely in your area and you catch him out, he's dead.
Oh yeah, that is a massive amount of damage. I was just taking a look at it. Yeah, that's painful.
Mm-hmm.
You do have a really good concealment too. It's 5.6 kilometers if you build into it with the improved hull concealment, the legendary mod. It makes it go down to 5.6. With the regular concealment, it goes down to 5.9 concealment.
Yep, they're really good concealment. You can take destroyer fights at very close range most of the time, and with that good concealment, you can avoid fights against gunboats. At least, yeah, and you can just choose to either stay hidden, or if they get super damaged or distracted, you can jump in as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. So thank you for your opinion of that one there, SAT. Moving on, it's time to talk about the Burrows line. The Burrows line is about to be released into the game. As of this video, it's about to be pretty close at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, at this point, it's pretty close to being released. It's like a few weeks away.
Uh,
So by the time this video's out, it should be out by now. But no, overall, I say the Burrows is definitely worth it when it's out, when you can get it for free. It's very strong with an interesting gunboat DD line with on-demand smoke and sap shells. Really good ballistics. It's closer to the French and Russian ballistics, so the shells do a lot of damage. As you can see, it has HE and sap rounds, and it also has a does the higher tier have a burst fire mode there, SAT?
I don't recall the high tiers having
No, it
burst
doesn't.
mode, to be honest.
No, it doesn't. No, I'm looking at it right now. So how the line works is that instead of having it where you just lay out one smoke screen, like you lay like, with a certain amount of consumables. So like say the gearing line has like 5, and they last a certain amount of time. For the Burrows, it has a 3-minute and 20-second smoke generation time, right? So about 200
Mm-hmm.
seconds, and you're not able to get any more or not get any less. That is as much time as you can get no matter what. The smoke itself lasts 5 seconds, and you have a minimum action time of 15 seconds. So you can turn it on, leave it on as long as you want, and then you can turn it off after 15 seconds essentially, right? So you can
Yep.
leave it on the whole entire 200 seconds if you want, or you can just have it on for 15 seconds and then turn it right off. So you can have it where if you're doing an engagement where you're farming, or if you're trying to like smoke up your buddy or have them follow you along, you can have that doing it that way. The smoke is very versatile in that role, but it's not as like stable as you say like a gearing smoke. Like a gearing smoke lasts for 2 minutes on its own, right? So the smoke, the gearing puts out a smoke, it lasts 2 minutes. This only has a smoke for 5 seconds after the smoke is laid. It has to keep laying smoke to keep the smoke going. So it's not going to be as good as like a smoke bot, people would call it, like for competitive. What are your thoughts on the Burrows for competitive SAT? Because I know that a gearing is used a lot. Uh, Haragubo, do you think the Burrows would be a good replacement for any of those?
It doesn't take the smoke destroyer role because it simply doesn't have enough smoke. In competitive, it's mostly used as a selfish smoke,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see an area where Burrows has like a good competitive edge over any other current options.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take a cap contesting destroyer that's not permabanned, then Daring is usually a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take a gunboat destroyer, then I think there's probably, I would say just take a Kabaros or a Delny just because they have higher survivability. That being said, the unique smoke could come into play because the way it's supposed to be used is it's a versatile smoke. But in competitive, it's likely going to be there just to quickly break action, and be used like uh, a daring smoke.
Yeah.
You do have to keep it on for a minimum of, I think was you said 15 seconds?
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, but that's super short. That's that's at least 10 uses. So like you can keep using that over and over. But at the same time, Burrows doesn't have any other defensive options. It doesn't get you have to use speed boosts. You get speed boosts, but you don't get any heals, and you don't take any less damage. So I still think, and more importantly, the concealment is not very good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a pseudo gunboat that just doesn't really feel like a really good niche in competitive. Not that I see yet. Of course, teams may prove me wrong in the future tournaments, but at this point, I think Burrows is going to struggle to find a place in competitive.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you for that, SAT. So moving on from the Burrows, we're talking about the Worcester line. So taking a look at the Worcester line real quick in the tech tree, you can get it right here at the Omaha. It goes down the split here for the light cruisers. So out of the two lines, the Worcester is a light cruiser line, while the Des Moines is the heavy cruiser line. So let's talk about the Worcester line. Overall, the Worcester line has strong HE, very high DPM with a 4-second reload. AP's okay as well, but the HE is where it really shines with that 30mm pen and just a high fire chance. Oof, you'll be melting everyone. And yes, I would say I sort of recommend the Worcester line. It is hard to play, but it's definitely good in divisions or PvE just due to that really high DPM. And if you're in a division, your division can spot the enemies for you or smoke you up, which allows you to farm away to your heart's content. Now, I was just saying it's hard to play, and that's because of its armor. It has a 25mm bow and aft, and as you can see, this armor is very squishy because it is a light cruiser. Now, it does have a very high citadel as well, so if you're not careful, you're going to be going right back to port pretty quick. The ship does come with a 5-kilometer hydro, a 9-kilometer radar, and a heal. And you do get a concealment of 9.8 kilometers, so there's a 0.8 kilometer difference of you being spotted and being able to radar your target. It does get aerial ASW, which isn't very common for a lot of the light cruisers, so it is nice that it does. So pretty cool that it does. Anti-air is actually very strong on this ship. For the tech trees, it's one of the strongest in the game, so it is pretty nice when you combine that with DFA. Pretty good. Survivability health is 45,000. Not like it's just, it's a light cruiser, so it's pretty nice for it. But overall, it's a good line. It's just hard to play. It definitely will teach you how to dodge or use islands for cover, because these shells are very arcy. It is hard to aim at distance, so you can use that arcness or the loftiness of the shells to shoot over islands onto your enemies, or you're sitting behind an island, you use that island cover to shoot over and shoot your enemies. So it's a good ship that you want to learn to use the environment to your advantage, or use your team smoke or the enemy smoke to move into and pushing your side, or just farming out destroyers or whatever. But what are your thoughts on the Worcester line SAT?
definitely one of the harder lines to play. You can think of it as a glass cannon. It has very good firepower, but its survivability is not great. It doesn't have mobility, and the armor scheme is bad. So
Mm-hmm.
you're really relying on not getting spotted and using islands for cover to just try to survive long enough to deal damage.
Mm-hmm.
As for the HE shells, of course, is what makes the ship great. Individually, it's not amazing, but combined with the reload, and you're just outputting tons of DPM and fires. Uh, AA, of course, it's a U.S. ship, and unlike the other line we'll talk about, it gets DFAA for free. So CVs are pretty much always going to avoid you unless they have no other choice.
Mm-hmm. So where do you think this
Uh,
line starts getting good? Like per se, like on
so
on this line.
I would say, honestly, I do like the Helena, and I do like the Dallas. Well, Dallas is okay. Helena and Cleveland is I like, but Seattle is, oh my god, pain incarnate. Like, it is the most painful ship to play by far.
Yeah,
And
that the gun angles on it are just atrocious.
it is like complete garbage. Um, the line itself got a major buff, though. The turrets on most, if not all of the guns, are actually 360.
Yep, they are. The Cleveland is
You
as
won't,
well. Yep.
yeah. You may not think much of it, but it actually helps a lot in some situations, especially like when you're moving forward. You'll see this a lot in operations where if you're moving forward, you can simply just turn the ship to the left or right and still keep all your guns pointed.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, Seattle, just because of this the horde gun angles, it's pretty bad, and it doesn't help that the range issue becomes much worse at higher tiers. At least it still has very good firepower, but it's just so hard to use compared to Worcester.
Mm-hmm.
Worcester angles aren't really that great either, but the DPM you get in return is just so good that it's like, okay, it's worth the sacrifice. Mm, If you want the easier time to play the line, then yeah, just get a smoke buddy and have him smoke you while you go do your damage farming. And let me see, there was one more thing I want to talk about it. They do have, their detection's pretty good, so you can get in close, you can get relatively close to like a certain islands, and then just use that to farm over with your relatively floaty arcs.
Mm-hmm.
It does hurt in return because your long-range gunboating is kind of bad. So sometimes it's more of a defensive option. Like, yeah, there's not much you can. Enemies pushing in will just die a horrible death. But at the same time, if they just run away, there's not much you can do to hurt them. So unlike many other cruisers, keep in mind that U.S. cruisers do not have torpedoes, except for Omaha, but that barely counts. So this means that if you get caught at close range and the ship is rushing you, you have no way to immediately deal with him. Like if a battleship were to rush another typical cruiser, then he has to be careful of torpedo threats. But against a U.S. cruiser, you don't have torpedoes to threaten him. So he can literally just sit in your face and chunk you through the bow if he feels like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is quite painful.
So yeah, one major caveat, you should be mindful in any U.S. Cruiser. But otherwise, the line's pretty solid, if a bit hard to play.
Yep. So thank you for that one, SAT. So moving on to the final line I'll be talking about today is going to be the Des Moines line. Where is the Des Moines that's hiding from? Where are you, little guy? All right, here you go. So the Des Moines line. So the Des Moines line is going to be the heavy cruiser line for the Americans. So right here, starting from the Pepsi, going down to the Des Moines. Overall, I'd say the Des Moines line is probably one of my favorite lines in the game. The Des Moines itself does get a unique upgrade that makes it have an amazing acceleration and rudder shift, so it makes it very light on its feet per se, so it makes it really easy to dodge shells or maneuver really well against that. The ships itself, its survivability, its armor is a little bit thicker than the Worcester. It has a 27 millimeter bow and aft. So to think of it, pretty much for a Burgone's not able to pen the bow of a Des Moines because of 27 millimeters. So Burgone has a 380 millimeter gun, correct, SAT?
Hold on, what was it again?
Burgone has 380s, correct?
380, yes.
Yeah,
Yep,
so
380.
380s cannot pen this 27 minute bow, but above that to 406s, they can. So anything 380 and below cannot pen the bow of a Des Moines, but anything above 380 can. And what really makes this ship shine are these guns on the Des Moines. And oh boy, are they absolute monsters. These, you get 9 203 millimeter guns with very strong HE, and it has the special American AP where it has improved ricochet angles. And this allows it to just pin very angled targets in Citadel as well. So you can Citadel cruisers, battleships, a little bit rougher to Citadel, but you can still pin angle targets with the Des Moines. So even if they're like extremely angled, even like the angle like this, they can still pin it where normal AP won't. It is just, it really throws people through a loop because they don't really expect it. Because it's only with, is it with the tier 10 and the tier 9 SAT, or is it with only the tier 10 it gets that special AP?
All the ships in the line.
Okay, so all the ships in the line. Okay. So the Pepsi, New Orleans, Balti, Buffalo, Des Moines, and then Annapolis. Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, they all get that special AP. So that AP is going to be working wonders in that line. But yeah, the Des Moines overall, very strong competitive ship over the years. Des Moines and Worcester alike. The Des Moines gets a 5-kilometer hydro and a 10-kilometer radar with a heel as well. The concealment is 10.9 when you have it fully built. So there's a 0.9 kilometer difference between the radar and the ship's concealment. So if you get spotted, move a little bit closer before you can actually use it. But overall, this ship is a very strong island hugging ship. It's very powerful. I highly recommend it. Very powerful short mid-range radar cruiser who can solo carry entire teams when played correctly. It's really good at holding positions at strategic spots or around caps, using that radar and hydro combo to really pressure off the destroyers, or if anybody tries rushing it, this thing will just absolutely melt it. They will not last long in front of the Des Moines because those guns, if you look at that damage, 5,000 with the AP and 2,800 with the HE, and the HE is no such either. It has 34 millimeter pen. It's just going to do so much damage, and that the fire chance is also extremely high. Just overall, like the only issue of the Des Moines is the fact that it's a cruiser and battleships can chunk you, as well as the shells do get more lofty the further away it is because of the slower shells. But other than that, it just does an amazing job overall. Just overall over the years, still one of the top ships in the game. Only problem it has with this is against submarines, because with most island sitting ships, submarines just love to mess with you. So that's about it, really. What are your thoughts there, SAT?
It's a pretty good carry line, although it is a little bit on the squishy end just because the citadels are not very well protected. But if you can get around their defensive issues at times, their firepower is amazing, especially given they're a heavy cruiser. Like the AP has improved pen angles, so they will absolutely shred anything that's not completely angled. In fact, a lot of people do underestimate your how angled they need to be to protect against your guns. So there's been quite a bit of times where I've gotten surprise citadels on people who thought they were angled. The gun layout is also very good if you want to sit bow in, except for Buffalo, but it's just a Buffalo problem. Everyone else, you can literally just sit, as you said, sit bow into an island, just use your front guns and do really well. That being said, once you get better at the ship, you actually want to play a little bit more in open water and randoms, because then you can get full access to your firepower, And if you're good enough at dodging, then you get to both kind of conserve your ship and while just raining down DPM on the enemy. Radar is what makes a ship a true all-rounder. Other cruisers may be tankier or have better guns, but the one thing they'll struggle with is destroyers, because unlike the other ships, the Moines can actually will force destroyers away, or even have a chance to run them down if needed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're, say, playing like a Zhao or a Lighthouse Henry, then there's nothing you can really do against the destroyers. At least not for a while.
But yeah.
So, like with the Worcester, you do have to be careful about your lack of torpedoes. It's not as bad in the Des Moines just because you sit bow in, you just go chunk. If any cruiser tries to rush you with their torps, you just simply kill them. And if they get close enough to do the turn, you just load AP and then Citadel them before they can kill you. If it's a battleship charging you, and if you overmatch your bow, then you just go GG. But otherwise, it's a very solid line, and definitely one I would recommend if you want to. It's a line you should master if you want to get good at World of Warships.
Yep, for sure. So thank you for that one SAT score. But yep, that is going to be it for the day. So next week we'll be having the US Part 2 line coming out, and we'll be going over the battleships and the aircraft carriers for the US because we don't have time today. So you guys will see the video next week, or if it's already out, you can just check it on my page. So thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.